here we go. So we are exploring the new quiz experience. Now, this is brand spanking new. Matter of fact, everybody at Camp Engage are the only people who have it right now, except us that are internal. And so you guys are privileged to get this a little bit early. So we're going to go through this in great detail because I want to make sure that you understand it completely. But I do have to kind of give you a fair warning. I do have some post-it notes stuck up here on my computer because this is new for me also. And so I want to make sure that I give you the best experience possible and show you what we can do. Um, just a little bit about me. Welcome. My name is Julie Cobb, and I am the director for the professional services team here at Nearpod. I've been with Nearpod about 5 years, a little over 5 years. I spent 26 years in public education, special ed teacher, deaf ed teacher. I ended as a tech integration specialist in my district. But when the opportunity came up to come to Nearpod in 2019 to share my experience and my love of technology integration with teachers at large, I was so excited to do that. Fun fact about me, I am converting a school bus. We're converting it to a tiny house on wheels, basically an RV. So if you would like to follow along on that journey, there is the website there. It has been quite the entertaining journey. So I would not follow along to learn much, but you could follow along for some entertainment value for sure. So let's get started. We're going to jump in with a quick poll. And I want to give you the opportunity to tell me what you want a quiz feature to do. So you can select one or as many as you want. What would you like to see in a quiz feature? I will go ahead and hide names. I know your names are showing up in the chat, so they're there, but I'll go ahead and hide names just to be sure. Oh, looks like you guys want lots of things in a quiz feature, don't you? And as teachers, we want it all, don't we? We want to make sure that we get multiple question types. We want to make sure that we can give feedback to our students on all of the questions. We want to see progress. I got to know where my students are. We want to see students have the ability to work at their own pace if that's necessary. We want flexibility in a lesson for sure. We want to auto grade as much as possible. We want it all. And as a former public school educator and as a current educator of adults, I want it all. And so I love this. Great news if you were not in the What's New session earlier today or yesterday. Nearpod listens. We pay attention to what teachers are asking for and what teachers need and how we can make your very challenging job even the slightest bit easier. And so we have done it all. And I don't think we're done just yet, but I'm going to show you what we've done so far, and we are going to get to celebrate this. I do want to make sure that you know that you can do the Nearpod notes. So on your screen as a learner, in the top right corner, you have that little bump out. It has a little piece of paper and a pencil. You can click on that and you can decide where you want to send the notes that you are going to take today about the quiz feature. You can send them to your email, to your Google Drive, or to your OneDrive. Now, one of the things that I do know that's happening right now is that there is a new requirement at the moment. We're going to try and make sure that we remove this requirement, but there is a requirement at the moment that you would type something on that little notes page just for at least the first slide so that it will activate and send you that notes. That's not ideal. We're going to fix that, but just for today, I have also put notes that will be available for you later at the end of the session. So, but this is there in case you need it. So our learning agenda today is pretty straightforward. This session is all about the quiz. And so we are going to experience the new quiz. I want you to experience it as a learner so that you know what's going to happen with your students. And you're going to see on my screen what happens on the teacher side. We're going to explore some of the new additional feedback options, and then we are going to create one together. So we're going to step by step walk through it, and hopefully when you get done today, you will have a quiz that you have built that you can either share with some friends or maybe one that you're going to build for your students. Either way is going to be fine. So let's jump in. So you'll notice on my screen, I am going to be sharing the screen that has the teacher side. You will have the student side on your screen. So you might want to be able to see the Nearpod lesson and the Zoom window at the same time, okay? Normally, if I was doing this with students, I would not be sharing my screen. There's nothing that the students need to see on the teacher's side. But I want you to see it today so that you understand the experience, okay? So keep that in mind. Normally, I would not be sharing my screen, but I am doing so today because I want you to know what it is. So the first thing is I set this so that it would be in student paced mode. But we want you to have that flexibility. So maybe when you originally built it, you said student pace, but now you're thinking, no, I don't want that. You can change your mind. But for now, I decided I do want to use student paced mode. So you're going to have the opportunity to go through this quiz all by yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to student paced mode. And then what you will notice as a learner is that you now have buttons that you can move the lesson on your own. And so you're going to be able to do that. Now, you'll see at the very beginning, on the student screen, you'll see that this is going to have 4 activities in it. And so this kind of lets you know as the learner kind of what you are going to be expected to do. So you're not going to have a huge amount of time. Don't get all kinds of detailed in the lesson, but let's go ahead and you can go through that. While you are going through that, I can see it as well. So I can see the teacher's side of things where students are answering the question. So it looks like most of you are working in the poll. I can also view progress. So as you finish the poll, it's going to give me that indication that you have finished with that poll. Now, keep in mind, I have close to 500 people in the session. I've got close to 300 people in my lesson itself. So I want to make sure that you understand that if mine lags just a little bit, it's because we got a lot of people. Most of you, your classes aren't quite this big. So it looks like most of you are moving on to the draw it. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the draw it too so that I can see. But again, you have complete control over where you go in the lesson. In my quiz, excuse me, you have complete control over where you go in my quiz. As you are working in the draw it, I have the option to add a grade. I have the option to continue to see progress. Again, mine's a little bit laggy right now, but that's what happens when you have 400 students. I can see the progress up here at the top. And you can see that as well as a student. You can tell how many of the activities you've completed. Got a few people who have started the quiz. You'll notice that those of you that are working on that multiple choice question, it's grading it for me and it's popping that into my student progress chart. I did give some feedback on a couple of the draw-its, but it doesn't look like it's caught up with that just yet. Again, that is simply due to the volume of people that I have in my quiz at the moment. On my teacher screen, I can see that I have graded or given some feedback on at least 2 of them. Quite a few more of you are working on that multiple choice question. And then we have some that have already started that open-ended question. Remember, we are in student-paced mode at the moment for you, so you can move between all of those pieces of the quiz without me having to move. My screen is not going to move with your screen at the moment, because as a teacher, I want to be able to pop into all of those different places where everyone is working, and I don't want to mess up your work. Ooh, use the quiz as a pretest and then use the answers to drive the lesson for the day. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds, and then we are going to stop and talk a little bit about what we have going on. All of you have fabulous responses. If I give you feedback that is not positive, it is not because of your response. It's because I want you to be able to see what other things look like. I want it to look like it might look like in your class, because we know that they don't always get it right. Okay, so I am going to turn off live to student paste. But before I do that, I want you to pause and look at my screen so that you can kind of see what has been coming through for me as the teacher. So for me as the teacher, I get to see this student progress. And the way that I found that is I opened up an individual student response. I can do this with the draw it. I can do this with the drag and drop. I can do this with the open-ended question. I click on a single student response. And then in the top right corner, I can add a grade. And now these are not grades like ABC, but these are grades that just give the student a little bit of guidance. And we'll talk about these in more detail in a moment. But I can click on that. I can go back, I can choose a different student, and I can continue to provide that. And so as the teacher, it helps me remember, okay, I've looked at these. I need to go back and look at the ones that I either put a question mark on while students are working, or ones that I happen to have put maybe an X on that says, we really need some improvement here. The other thing that I can do on these questions is at the top of each one, while you are in quiz mode, is I can click view progress. So this is not individual progress. What this is the whole group. So I can begin to see. Now, you'll notice that right now I don't have anything listed on my draw it. So the draw it is one of the most robust pieces that we have. So it really, when we have this many people, when I have close to 500 people in a lesson, it struggles to keep up. It will work beautifully when you have a regular class. So we did it earlier today with about 75 people. It was spot on, not any problems at all. When you have a class of 30, you won't have any issues at all. So this is what that view progress looks like. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to come out of the live to student paste, and I'm going to make sure that we start talking about all of this. So here we go. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to turn off live to student paste. Give me just a minute. There it goes. Turn off. There we go. All right, so now everyone should be with me on this screen. So you should now see the slide that says new quiz experience. It has taken you out of the quiz. You cannot go back to the quiz because we are back in live lesson, which means we now move again at my pace. And so when you are working with your students in your classroom, you don't always want them to go back to the quiz once you have finished. You always want them to kind of move on with you, because we always have that student who's like, but I'm not done, miss, wait for me, miss. And eventually we just have to move on. And so that's what we have done now. I've turned off live to student pace and I have moved on to my next slide. So let's talk about this in detail. So the new quiz experience is designed to integrate different types of formative assessments and different types of questions into one assessment experience in a live lesson. Currently, this is available in live lessons. As always, we listen to the feedback, and we know that the first question you guys are going to ask is, when is it going to be in a student-based lesson? And so it's all coming. It's all coming. But right now, this is in a live lesson, and this is a brand new opportunity for you to bring all of those different pieces that you love about Nearpod all into one experience. This is not really for you, the teacher, so much as it's really for the student. We want the students to understand that all of this goes together, that this is a packaged experience, if you will. And so they see it as a continuation of the same assessment or the same learning. You'll notice I have a screenshot here. We're going to go into our own account here in just a minute, and when we create one, and you'll get to see this kind of up close and personal, and I'll show you all the buttons. Go ahead and let's talk a little bit about those gradable options, because you saw how I was moving through. Wait, yeah, that's correct. You saw how I was moving through and I was giving you different gradable or different grades. And in the past, this has only been on Draw It and Drag and Drop, but now it is available on so many more options. Let's talk about what they are, and then we'll talk about where you can find them. So when you are in these different activities, you are going to have 3 different options to give to students. This is a live lesson, so it's not the time for a big, long dissertation about feedback or anything like that. You just want to give the student a little bit of guidance. Approved. You're going to let that student know that they are on the right track. They're doing a great job. They've got the learning. Sometimes we just need a student to pause and think for a minute. And so you can use that need clarification. You put that question mark on there and the student knows, oh, wait, I need to go back. I either need to check my work, or maybe I need to redo something. It just kind of gives the student pause. It gives them a reason to look at their work and think, okay, I'm close, but what am I missing? And then needs improvement. This is one of the ways that you can tell your students, or tell your student, because this is individual, so only that single student sees it. It's not for public view, but tell them, okay, hold on just a second. You're not quite on the right track. And this is where, when you're using Nearpod and you're not tethered to the screen and students are working at their independent pace, this is where you can put that X on there, and then they know, oh, I probably should check with my teacher. We should probably have a conversation so that I can get back on track. You can go in and you can change these. So if a student is working and you pop needs improvement on there, and then they realize the mistake that they made and they make adjustments while they're working on their quiz, you can go back in there and change that to approved. And that way students know kind of where they are in their own learning. sometimes students are pretty confident in their wrong answers. And so we want to help them think about, oh, I need to check, I need doing some clarification and that sort of thing. So that instant feedback helps students really focus on their own learning, thinking about their own learning, really participating in that metacognition. We'll use one of those big education words, but thinking about their own thinking. So where do you find these? Because you're like, I've never seen these before. That's right, because they are all new. So let's see where we can find those. So these are the gradable activities. So some of them are automatic. Time to climb has always been an automatic grade. We tell you how many the student got right, how many they got wrong, and in the report we give you a percentage. Same for matching pairs, for fill in the blank, for poll. I mean, we've always given you that information. But now we have a couple of additional things. So the first thing you'll notice at the top is it says multiple choice. And you're like, Julie Cobb, I've never seen multiple choice as an activity. Well, it is now. So multiple choice can be a single question that you can create that has a correct answer. If you put several multiple choice questions together, you have a quiz. And so when you start to combine all of things, this is when we move into it is becoming a full quiz. For manual grading, which is the three things that I just showed you, for manual grading, it is in drag and drop. It's in the draw it. It's now in the open-ended question. And then if you are one of those schools or districts that have Nearpod math, it is available for those math manipulatives as well. Now, I am going to give you kind of a sneak behind the curtain. So you'll notice on drag and drop, it says manual. That means you can go in and you can do the check mark, the question mark, or the X. But we get the question, and I'm sure it has already popped in the question box somewhere. When is drag and drop not automatically graded? Well, it's not currently automatically graded. But do you hear it in my voice? It's not currently automatically graded. But once again, we have heard your feedback and it is something that we are working on. So definitely keep an eye out for that to pop up, hopefully a little bit later in the year. But we wanted to get the manual grading taken care of for all of our activities, and then we will start to expand that automatic grading. So anyway, I always love it when I get to share, that we've got new things coming. And so it's so exciting. So these are the gradable activities. So these are the things that are going to give you either that automatic grade, so that percentage or that number of right, and then the manual grading, the new things that we just offered. All of this information, all of those grades, everything like that is going to be in your reports. Now, right now, everything's going to come in as the individual activity. And realistically, for now, I think that is going to be sufficient for us getting back to school, because we're still going to be looking at those individual pieces. We're going to be drilling down into that data of the students that we need to really work with. Again, we have other things that are coming. So as we begin to roll out some of new things in reports, you will begin to also see that same screen where you could see the whole class and the whole quiz all at one time with all the activities together. You will begin to be able to see that view in the report as well. So not there just yet, but our engineers are working on some improvements in that area as well that I think you're going to be really excited about. So you've experienced it. We've talked about it in great detail. Our next step is to build one. And so we are going to build a quiz. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Now, this is voluntary. So if you are like, Julie Cobb, I already have 300 tabs open, I'm not opening one single tab, that's fine. You can just watch. But if you are the type of person who really likes to learn by doing, then I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and you are going to leave this tab open. Don't close this lesson because we will come back to it. But you're going to go to a new, whoops, hold on. There we go. You are going to go to a new tab, at the top of your screen, and you are going to log in to your Nearpod account. Now, if you are brand new, you're like, I've got my Nearpod account, but I'm not really sure, probably just want to watch. If you are a Nearpod guru and you've got this and all you need is the new stuff, then jump in there with me. So I'm going to open a new tab. I'm going to go to my Nearpod account. Now, I can't show you the login page because I'm clearly already logged in, but you will go to your Nearpod account. And then once you get there, I'm going to ask you to click Create. You can find it kind of midway down on the left. You can find it all the way at the top on the right. Both of them will get you the exact same place. And you're going to click Create and Lesson. Now, some of you are like, I like my Google Slides. Don't touch that Google Slides add-on right now. We are going Create and Lesson. That's where we're going to be today while we create our very own quiz. So I'm going to click Lesson. And so you should have a screen that looks very similar to mine. Hopefully you don't have quite as many untitled lessons. I'm totally embarrassed. I've got 13 untitled lessons. I know better than that. I should be giving them a title. But I've been playing a lot, so that's probably why I have that. So I am going to go ahead and give this one a title. That's good practice to do right there at the very beginning. So I am going to title it my first quiz. There we go. So hopefully you have all gotten there. I'm going to give you just another second. I'm going to pop open that chat for just a minute. So I do have somebody in the chat, guys, who says that theirs doesn't have quiz. Christy, can you let me know or post in the chat why that is? And if some of you could post in the chat if you do see create a quiz. Yes. Okay. So it looks like we've got, okay. All right. It looks like some have it and some do not. And it may just be that it hasn't gotten there yet. We tried to load everybody who had registered for Camp Engage. And so it may just be that it's not there yet. If that's your case, then just watch and you will have it fairly quickly. We're going to start rolling it out to everybody, to all of our accounts on Monday. And so, but we tried to make sure that as many people as possible had it for today. And if you don't have it, don't be super sad. It'll be okay. You will get it, I promise. All right, so I'm gonna close the chat again because I get distracted. All right, so if you have it, then there's two different ways that you can start making a quiz. If you are starting a brand new lesson, then you're going to see it right here, create a quiz. You can just start right there. If you don't, if you are not in a brand new lesson, if you want to go back and you want to put in a way, oh, there we go. So if you don't have the quiz option, put your account email address in the Q&A. Don't put it in the chat. That moves too fast. Put your account email address in the Q&A. And they're going to try and help you out with that. Perfect. Okay. Closing the chat again. All right. So if you are already in a lesson, let's say you've got a lesson that you've already started and you want to go back and add a quiz, this won't pop up because this pops up only if you are brand new and you've not put anything in the lesson yet. So I'm going to show you. You can go to Add New up here in the top left corner and go to Quizzes and Games. And there it is, right there. It's the very first one under Quizzes and Games. So you'll notice we now have quiz. Looks a little bit different than it used to. And we now have multiple choice. But we are going to start with quiz. If we want that full packaged experience, we're going to start with quiz. So let me show you how I got here. I went up in the top left corner. I clicked Add New. I went down on my screen to where it says Quizzes and Games. And the very first option is quiz. I'm going to make sure that one is selected. Gives me a little bit of information over here on the right-hand side where I selected it. And I'm going to click Add. So you'll notice that the first thing that we're going to do is we need to decide what our question types are. All right, so I'm going to delete this one. I'll show you one more time. All right, so I'm going to go up here in the top left corner under my lesson title, which I changed because I don't want to leave it as untitled. And I'm going to click Add New. In this selection menu, I'm going to go to Quizzes and Games. And I'm going to click Quiz. And then I can click Add. All right. For those of you that are putting your email address in that Q&A box, just watch for a moment. We will make sure that you have plenty of resources to do this. And then you can always go back and watch the recording as many times as you want. So we are ready to create an activity. We are ready to determine what types of questions we're going to put in our quiz. So as I'm looking at this, I know for sure I want to include at least one multiple choice question. So I'm going to click that Add option. Now I'm not adding the questions at the moment. I'm adding the question types. So I have to do that first. It's just easier for me to process that way. But however you choose to do this, if you want to build the question right now, you can. But I'm going to do question types first. So I do know I want to draw it for sure. I find a lot of value in an open-ended question, particularly as I get closer to the end of my quiz. I want students to be able to provide me with additional information. Let's see. Oh, I'm going to start there. So we're going to start there. So you'll notice I have 3 question types in my quiz. But I'm thinking about it now, and I want to start with the draw it first and not the multiple choice. So I'm going to click and hold on my draw it, and I'm going to move it over here because I like that order better. I want to do a draw it, then a multiple choice, then an open-ended question, I think. Well, let me move this. You know what? Nope. That's the way I like it. So I'm going to do a draw it, a multiple choice, and an open-ended question. Now I need to actually build the questions. So I can click on my draw it, and then I can click over here, double click on my draw it. And now I have the way that you have always created a draw it. I have my opportunity for instructions. I could add things like images or something like that. I could open up and see if maybe there is a graphic organizer I might like to use over here. Let's see. Let's do compare and contrast. I could also upload. If I wanted to upload something on the background of my draw it, if maybe there wasn't something pre-built that I liked, I could also upload a different draw it on the background. So I like this one. I think I'm going to get this one. And I'm going to write, so I like these questions. It says, using supporting details from the text, compare and contrast 2 characters. I am going to edit these. So I want 2 characters from the, whoops, let's spell this correctly, from the book you are currently reading. Now, what do you notice about that question? It doesn't matter what book my students are reading. They can all do this because all the books have some sort of characters. And so I'm gonna put that. So I like that one. All right. So my next one is my multiple choice. So I'm going to go to my multiple choice. Now, all of mine is in red right now because I haven't done anything. And Nearpod knows that this won't work if I don't put something on it. And so we want to kind of remind you, that's why they're in red over here, that you need to do something. Because if you launch this as a student to your students right now, there won't be a question. So I am going to do a multiple choice question. has the character in your story developed over the last few chapters? Yes is one of my options, and no. You know what? That's not a really good multiple choice question because there's not a really right answer. So this one actually might be better as a poll. So I'm going to change that question because I'm not liking that question. So let's see. Did you read the required number of pages this week? So technically they could answer no, but that would be the wrong question. That would be the wrong answer. I want them to answer yes. So with a multiple choice, you need to create questions that have right or wrong answers. If they don't have a right or wrong answer, you could use a poll. And so I could go back and I could maybe add a poll to my quiz if I wanted to change that question. So I'm going to add a poll. Did your character develop over the last few chapters? Yes. No. Not sure. Now I am going to leave it so that students can only choose one answer here because I do want them to narrow it down. I don't want them to have the opportunity to do all of them. Can we handle the truth? Yeah. All right. So let me go to my open-ended. That's the only one that I haven't done yet. So, and again, it's in red because Nearpod's trying to remind me you hadn't put a question. This isn't going to work. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, explain the way your character has developed over the course of your novel. Now, clearly, I was an English teacher. I was not a math teacher. However, you could do these questions for any subject. It doesn't matter. These are just the ones that I choose, but you could choose any subject, any topic, or anything like that. I'm going to go back to my primary quiz button. So you'll notice that I have quiz as slide number 1, but all of my activities are 1.1, 1.2, because they are embedded underneath. So I'm going to go back up here to my quiz. And there's a couple of things that I want to make sure happen during my lesson. So one of the things I want to have happen during my lesson is I want it to give me the option to go student paced. So do you remember when we were taking the quiz earlier, I was able to click and turn on that student paced, that live to student paced. I want to make sure that we have that option. So when I'm on that primary quiz page, up at the top on the right, it says student paced mode. So I'm going to click that to on. Now, what that does is that doesn't automatically turn it on, but it automatically gives me the option once I get into the lesson. If I change my mind in the lesson, I can just click not now. But I want to make sure that it reminds me that I really want to do that. And so I'm going to turn on that student paced mode. And I also know that if I give students an unlimited amount of time, they're going to dawdle or mess around or whatever term we use these days for students are not really urgent about this. I need them to feel a sense of urgency. So I'm going to add a timer. And I think that it's going to take them about 10 minutes. If they truly have a well-developed response in the draw it, if they truly have a well-developed response in the open-ended question, this may take them a few minutes. So I am going to go ahead and I am going to add a 10-minute timer. Now, if at the end of that timer it doesn't, that we need to adjust or something, we can do that. But I know my students, I have a pretty good idea about what they need to do, and that's what I'm going to do. Now, I could just have a quiz in my lesson, or I could also embed other things around that quiz. So I'm going to add a slide, Sometimes I use Google Slides and I upload those slides. Sometimes I build straight in Nearpod. Today, I'm just going to build straight in Nearpod. It's just a little bit faster. So I am going to put thank you, and then I'm going to give them some instructions. Please sit quietly and continue to read as we move into small groups. So I want to make sure that those instructions are on my board. I'm going to make sure that I show that, give any other additional information. I might add a quick little video, or I might add some audio or something to this slide or whatever, but I can add other things outside of the quiz. The quiz does not have to be by itself, or it can. Totally works for however you want it to work. Most things in Nearpod are really only limited by your imagination and what you need it to do. So there are all of my different pieces. So I am going to save and exit this lesson. Oh, it says that I'm not ready to teach. I'm going to keep editing. Hold on. Let me see if I can figure out what I didn't do right. Let me go back up here. So that one's not red. None of those are red. Save and exit. All right, let me check. It's usually because on a multiple choice, I did select the correct answer there. There's not a correct answer here. Like I said, this is new for all of us. So you're going to see me struggle for just a minute. All right, we're going to go ahead and exit. I'm going to go ahead and exit the lesson anyway. And then I will work with my team to see what I did wrong. Christy's taking notes for me. So maybe let's go back in and edit. Let me see if maybe somebody suggested maybe I need to add a name for the quiz, because I didn't do that. So that is possible. So this is going to be our character development quiz. And it does look like it's telling me, oh, here's what I did. I did this the other day too. So I put a third option, but then I didn't fill it in on my poll. So I need to fill that in. So I might put not really sure. And then, okay, that's what I did. So I needed to click off of that third option to make sure that it's saved. And so Nearpod, we are trying to help you out as much as we can, but you know what? You can always go back in, you can always poke around and edit and that sort of thing. So let me go back and see if that works now. Let's try this. Save and exit. Sweet, it worked. Okay, so see, once you get there, it's all good. Now this lesson works just like any other lesson. You teach it. I'm going to go live. I don't have anybody in this lesson, but again, there's my activities. There's what those students will see. I can switch over to that teacher mode. When I switch to that teacher mode is when I get that student paced prompt. That was the mistake I made earlier today, and I panicked. Because if you are looking at student mode, there's no prompt there to go student paced. And I kept thinking, where is it? Where is it? I have to click teacher. That was my post-it note that I had at the top of my screen today. Click the teacher button. So I have to click that teacher button so that it prompts me to switch over to that student paced mode. I switch to that student paced mode. I do have a timer on this one. So I click start activity. And now students are able to work on their own pace, and they have their timer at the top, and they have their progress as they move forward in this lesson. I will continue to be able to view progress as I did when I was working with you guys. So we are coming close to time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Nearpod lesson. I am going to push through a couple of these slides because I want to make sure they're in your notes. So we did this. We talked about how to find quizzes and games. We talked about the creation process. Don't forget that student-paced option up there at the top. Don't forget if it's red, you got to do something. It's expecting something. And if you have a blank space, it's probably because you clicked one too many and you forgot to fill it out, which is what I do. Um, so now what we're going to do is I want you to take just a minute and kind of reflect on this session. So how about share one thing that you learned and also share your next steps to use that new experience with your student. If you are trying to remember, because you're like, I've been in several sessions today, I can't remember everything, in the top left corner of that collaborate board, this is what we did. So here's what I encourage you to take the time to do for next steps, but your next step might be different. So I want you to take some time to explore the new quiz and the gradables. I want you to practice navigating because clearly, as you have seen today, navigating is a little bit different. And then I also want you to view the live and post-session data, which is just in that report. All right. If you do not see the collaborate board, go back to that live lesson that you were in earlier. And if it's still not there, go ahead and click that refresh button. Again, with so many people in my lesson, click that refresh. And then give it just a second. And I will refresh mine too, just in case. Oh, yep, still stuck at 15. Hold on. There we go. Fixed. Woohoo! Okay. You know, it's not a technology presentation if something is glitchy with the technology, which is why, you know, we just keep trying. So, yay. As you are putting these in, I'm going to be reading them. I am going to ask my colleagues to go ahead and push out into the resources, the feedback session, or the feedback form. It's going to be in that resource button. And then I have also put in the Nearpod notes as a PDF in that button. So on your screen at the bottom, there's a resource button. Once you have finished posting on the collaborate board, go ahead, click that resource button, and you should have two resources. The feedback form, I'm always looking for feedback to improve our practice, and then the Nearpod notes that you can download. when we were thinking about how to make this, I had the privilege of working with the product team, and I have to tell you, it was amazing to watch something that went from scratch notes on a piece of paper to what you see today. And it was just a phenomenal experience. This product team is just amazing. Yes, you're definitely going to want to spend some more time messing with it and playing with it and creating it. Find a buddy, say, "Hey, I need you to do my quiz. I need to make sure I'm navigating correctly, to make sure it does what I think it's going to do, to make sure that I don't forget, click that teacher button, to make sure that you click that teacher button, and those kinds of things." So can't wait to show your schools. Absolutely. If you've got friends who weren't here today, share this with them. Make sure that they know how we have lots of resources available, so that they can go back. You can always go back and watch this. The record audio feature. So there is a record audio feature for students on the open-ended question. I did not enable it this time, but you can. You will not I would not recommend listening to that recording during a live lesson because there's no way to preview it before everybody hears it unless you put in some headphones. Spelling test, I'm good. Yeah. Love the new question types. Isn't it fabulous? Yeah, the audio feature is great. So you can do audio on the open-ended question. You can do audio on the um, collaborate board. During the first week of school to facilitate classroom culture. Absolutely. A quiz doesn't have to be about academics. So if you're looking for the PDF for the notes, if you click on that resource button, it should be there. Make lessons more fun. Yes, thank you, Kendra. Learning does not have to be boring. It does not have to be sad. It can be fun. So yes, we're going to make learning high level. We're going to make learning fun. We're going to make learning impactful. All of those things. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We are going to continue. We're going to hang out here and continue to answer questions. But if you have all of your questions answered and you are ready to go play, you are free to go practice making a quiz, make a fun one to share with your family, make your family sit down and take the quiz with you. It's the best way to practice. My kids always knew that when I was learning something new on Nearpod, they had to bring their laptops and come sit down because I was going to make them practice. In the resources page, under documents, there's also a document there that will give you all the information regarding professional development credit and that sort of stuff. So you can click on that document and it gives you all the dates and details. That's also in the resources page, or the resources tab, excuse me, at the bottom. You guys are so welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating in my quiz, and thank you for being patient as we are all learning this together. Y'all have a fabulous day. Don't forget to check out the rest of the sessions today. We've got lots of sessions with additional information and different strategies for different users. If you are a vocabulary user, we've got some great vocabulary sessions as well. So check those out. I'll be popping in and out of those, helping in the chat periodically. So excited about that. Oh, my bus website. So my bus website is happyschooly.com. And of course, we misspelled all of it on purpose. So there it is, happyschooly.com. It has been quite the adventure. The link to the feedback form is under the resources tab. So click on that resources tab and the link will be under links. It should be the first link that you see. Back in the 70s, there's a huge bus culture. I mean, we had been seeing it online and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's our kids are out of the house and doing their own things in two different states, both of which are about 12 hours from us. So we thought, you know what, we'll do this and then we can go see them. So the session name was Explore Nearpod's New Quiz Experience. I apologize that was not the name I used on my lesson. I missed that somewhere. Explore Nearpod's new quiz experience. Will it have a bumper sticker? We'll teach for food. Yeah, probably. We'll trade PD for PD for good snacks. It'll have Happy Schoolie on the front of the bus. That's the name of our bus. And then on the back, it'll have the word probably, because that's been the word of the whole project. Will this work? Probably. Is this what we want to do? Probably. So, yes, I'll put the link in the website, in the chat. There you go. Like I said, you probably don't want to try and learn from us because everything that we did was for the very first time, but we did learn everything off of YouTube. So, all right. I think we have answered most of the questions. It looks like we've only got a few questions left. We're going to give it about another minute, and then we are going to jump off and head to our next sessions. Thank you again, everybody. So glad to have you here with us. Learned a lot this morning. Thank you. That's the highest compliment. All right, everyone. Have a fabulous day, and you are good to go. We will see you in another session. Bye, everybody.